Earlier this week, the State Senate Oversight Committee released a report on the November 2020 election in Michigan. Reading from the report, this committee found no evidence of widespread or systematic fraud in Michigan's prosecution of the 2020 election. However, we cannot and should not overlook severe weaknesses in our elections system, whether it's a lack of clarity in the tabulation of ballots, unnecessary barriers to ensuring that every lawfully cast ballot is counted, inconsistent poll worker or challenger training, or simply a system not primarily designed to handle ballots cast absentee or otherwise prior to election day. It is the opinion of this committee that the legislature has a duty to make statutory improvements to our elections system. This committee exhausted every resource available to it to thoroughly and faithfully examine our elections process in Michigan and drill down on claims and testimony specific to the 2020 election. However, this investigation should not be considered exhaustive. Remaining conscientiousness of the limitations of this committee, every possible investigative avenue was not undertaken. Nevertheless, this committee stands steadfastly behind the recommendation that our current election system requires change in order to meet the future challenges presented by modern voting preferences, behaviors, and threats. There are clear weaknesses in our election system that require legislative remedy. To get his perspective on that report, we have asked Ottawa County Clerk and Register of Deeds, Justin Roebuck, to join us via the Zoom connection this morning. Justin, good morning and welcome back to WHTC.
Hey, good morning, Gary. Thanks for having me.
It's been a couple of days since that report has been released. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at it. It's 55 pages, so it does take some reading, and hopefully you had the no-nos there. Certainly, it is an interesting report by Senate Republicans on an election that many Republicans say was rigged.
It's very interesting, and I think I have a lot of respect for Senator Ed McBroom, who chairs the Oversight Committee. Senator McBroom also serves on the Elections Committee in the Senate, and he's the kind of guy who is kind of a no-nonsense guy, digs into facts. He's as you say, this is a Republican-led committee because our Senate is a majority Republican body. He is certainly a conservative Republican. And, I think that the biggest takeaway for me was, and I do know that Senator McBroom, the other senators on the Oversight Committee and their staff spent an enormous amount of time looking into allegations. They talked to people, who were on the ground, for example, in the TCF Center in Detroit. They talked to local clerks. They talked to county clerks. They talked to party activists and, even tried to talk to some of the folks who have, spread some of the more outlandish rumors and lies about our election system. So it really, I believe was a thorough effort on their part. And I think the major takeaway for me is, Michigan's election system is sound. It's accurate. It has integrity. Can there be improvements to a system? Absolutely. I think we can never, ever, look at a system or a process. I think we would be, doing a true disservice to our voters and our community if we were to say, no, we're good, we're fine, we don't need any changes. And I think 2020 proved that. I think even beyond 2020, prior to 2020, with the, as you just read in the report, the absentee voting process, really our state has not been set up for absentee voting on the scale that Proposal 3 in 2018 gave us. And so I think that acknowledgement by the Senate is important. Poll challenger training was one of the things that they acknowledged needed to happen. It's very inconsistent in the law right now. Poll challengers are not really required to be trained. That's a disservice to our election workers, to our voters, and to our poll challengers, frankly. So I think there's some really, really good recommendations in that report, as well as some very strong refutation of some of the misinformation and actual lies that have come out of the cycle.
Now, Clerk Justin Roebuck, former President Trump is ripping State Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey and Senator McBroom for this report, calling the investigation a cover-up, and said it was a method of getting out of a forensic audit for the examination of the presidential contest, adding the senators need to do the right thing or to be voted out of office. Your reaction to Mr. Trump's reaction?
Well, a couple of things, speaking of cover up, it's interesting to me that some of the more extreme allegations come from a former state senator, an attorney out of Kalamazoo. These guys have raised some significant cash off of their allegations, some real money. And unfortunately, the money is not tied to transparency in any way. These are GoFundMe accounts that these guys have on their websites where they've raked in hundreds of thousands of dollars off of their allegations of fraud. It's amazing to me. But they're not subject to any transparency whatsoever. These funds are going into private bank accounts or personal bank accounts or wherever they need to go. But they are not open and transparent fundraising efforts. Neither is their fact-finding open or transparent. So that's a huge thing. And Senator McBroom detailed that in the report, that they have tried multiple times to connect with the authors of some of these accusations to drill in and get data from them. Where did you get your sources? But they did not respond. So that tells me that we do have some integrity issues, but it is not on the side of our election officials. It is on the side of those who are lobbing claims that are not founded. And I think it's so important, it is challenging right now because we're all hearing stuff from everywhere, right? All sides. And I think it's difficult for our voters and for everyone to really just understand, okay, what are the facts? But it is so important because we can't undermine the way that we choose our government just because we didn't take the time to drill into facts. So one of the claims it's an 85-page report on the which details a lot of false allegations about Antrim County, includes false allegations about Ottawa County, the 400% turnout in Zeeland Township, which was just a lie. One of the claims in there details some abnormalities in Wayne County's election reporting. And it shows a graph of results that came in at certain times of the night, and then some results were subtracted from this report, like in timestamp reports, and then more results were added. And the claim is made that somehow this was representative of fraud and clearly mishandling and misreporting of information and ballot dump. The problem is we don't know where that document in that report came from. It didn't come from Wayne County. We're not sure. And the author of the report didn't talk to the oversight committee about it. And so I think that's a big problem. Now media, as you know, Gary, right? Like we all report our results at the county level, and media reports results. Sometimes on election night with unofficial results, mistakes can be made. Sometimes mistakes have to be corrected on election night, right? Results have to be taken out if they were incorrectly put in different categories, and then they would be re-added. For example, results that were, put into the wrong precinct bucket, for example, would be one of those reasons. But we really don't know because the report is unsighted.
Now, there are a couple of other topics I want to touch on with you very briefly. Ottawa County Clerk and Register of Deeds Justin Roebuck. You will be busy in about 2.5 hours from when we speak at 10 o'clock this morning. The County Reapportionment Commission set to hold its first meeting at the Fillmore Street Complex. Tell us what this commission is all about and your role in it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those important statutory functions that we fulfill at the county level, which essentially revolves around the census. We have to, not only are the legislative and congressional districts redrawn every 10 years based on the census, but also our county commission districts. And as we all know, in 2018, the Independent Citizens Redistricting Committee was established through the state constitution to kind of handle the legislative and congressional level reapportionment, but the county reapportionment piece did not change. So the County Reapportionment Committee is essentially the clerk, treasurer, and prosecutor of the county, as well as the two major political party chairs, so the Republican and Democratic Party chairs. And that group of 5 basically oversees the redrawing of district boundaries, essentially to reapportion and make sure that there's accurate and equal representation in each commission district. So we're kind of kicking it off this morning. As you probably know, our census data is not available yet. That's been delayed a few months. But we do kind of want to hit the ground running and at least know where we're at. We're obviously taking public comment. It's a public meeting that's occurring in the boardroom at the Fillmore Complex, but also live online. So folks can join in on Zoom. That information's on our website. It's on our social media. We've been sharing that. So if certainly anyone interested in listening in or commenting, obviously, to the commission, can feel free to do that.
One final thing, and want to get your reaction to the decision made yesterday by the Kent County Board of Commissioners to unanimously offer a contract to Al Vandenberg to become the Kent County's next administrator to replace Raymond Britt, who is retiring next month. Vandenberg has been at his post since 2003 in Ottawa County. Your thoughts about Al Vandenberg leaving to go back to Grand Rapids? He had been the Kent County Deputy Administrator for 4 years before coming to West Olive. And your thoughts about Vandenberg? And apparently, if the contract negotiations go through, he will be in Grand Rapids this time next month.
Yeah. And I can't speak exactly the contract negotiations, obviously, but what I will say is that I think the Kent County Board made a wise choice, and we will absolutely miss Al if that is indeed his choice through the contract process to move in that direction. I think he has been an amazing administrator for Ottawa County, very forward-thinking guy. Has always given us the support and resources that we need in terms of the county administration. I believe deeply cares for our 1,200 employees at Ottawa County. And he's always open to thinking outside the box, to new ideas, to community partnerships and collaboration with those within our community. I think he's strengthened the ties of trust within the departments with the county. So he's really done some incredible things at Ottawa over the 17 years he's been here. And I absolutely wish him the best. I think Kent County has really made the right choice. So it'll be tough for us, but I think I definitely wish Al the very best.
He is Ottawa County Clerk and Register of Deeds Justin Roebuck, gracious enough to join us this morning to talk a little bit about some of the more recent developments. We chat with him on a monthly basis on WHTC's Talk of the Town, and if all goes well, we'll do this again in terms of a conversation with you next month on Talk of the Town. Thank you, Justin.
You bet. Thanks, Gary. Have a great day.